Welcome back to another video here on Perpetually Abroad. Today I'm going to talk about why Saigon is more convenient to live in compared to Hanoi. So let's jump into the video. Number one for me, guys, is the climate. Okay, so for me personally, the climate of Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon is near ideal. Okay, it's almost perfect, because it's consistently warm. The temperature rarely drops below about 27 degrees, which is lovely. So in Saigon there are two distinct seasons. So mainly the dry season that starts in end of November and it lasts all the way through April. I really love hot climate. I'm not a fan of cold climate. I grew up mainly in Scandinavia, so it was very cold there, obviously, and I've never liked that. So for me, the climate in Saigon is perfect. So in comparison to Hanoi, Hanoi has 4 distinct seasons. You have fall or autumn, winter, spring, summer, and of course it can be very nice in Hanoi. For example, in the spring, like in March, April. It can also be extremely hot during a few weeks during summer in Hanoi, which is not very comfortable. The temperature in the summer can reach sometimes 40 degrees. And then on top of that, Hanoi has winter. I never forget the first time I came to Vietnam in the north, and it was one of the years where it was extremely cold, like colder than normal. I wasn't prepared for that. It was like worse than being in Scandinavia because there's no central heating in people's houses, so it's equally cold inside as outside. So I remember I slept with like the whole jacket, everything, like blankets, and it was still very, very cold. Due to the humidity, it can feel colder than the temperature actually is. So basically, if you look at the thermometer, maybe it says about 14 degrees, maybe 12, 13, feels much colder than it actually is. So that's probably for me the main reason I stay in Saigon, because of the climate compared to Hanoi. Okay, let's move to number 2, better air quality. So the air quality in Saigon is not very good, but compared to Hanoi, it's still much better. The air quality in Hanoi is very bad almost year round, and I can clearly feel the difference when I visit Hanoi. I remember last time I was there, like almost a year ago, I could really feel the bad air and the quality of air, and it was not pleasant at all. So I use an app called Air Visual to measure air pollution. It's a very good app. There are many measuring stations all around the world where they measure, the pollution, and in Hanoi it's usually very bad. So several hundred tons of charcoal and tons of waste are estimated to be burnt on a daily basis in and around Hanoi. So the result of burning these materials cause carbon dioxide and other toxic gases such as sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. Grass and stubble left over from harvest are burnt in order to prepare the ground for the next crop. So hundreds and thousands of hectares of land surrounding Hanoi is incinerated. It is estimated that over 300,000 tons of straw are burnt annually. Okay, moving on to number 3, guys. Easier to buy stuff. What I mean is that in general, the bigger the city, the easier it is to buy certain things and items and merchandise. In general, it's just easier to get some things in Saigon compared to Hanoi. It can be certain electronics, foods, hardware, and also in terms of upscale malls, there are more in Saigon as well. Like for example, the Takashimaya, Diamond Plaza and stuff like that. So in Hanoi, you have a few malls, but it's just not as much as in Saigon. So I remember in Hanoi, I was in a camera shop a few years ago and I needed some accessories, and they just said, we have it in our branch in Saigon. And they explained to me as well, they said that usually they keep much higher stock in Saigon, not just a number of items, but just the number of articles as well is just higher. That's one thing I've noticed several times off the top of my head, where I try to buy stuff in Hanoi, but I cannot really get it because they say, oh, you have to go to Saigon, or we have to ship it from Saigon here, or something like that. So that's one thing that makes it more convenient to stay in Saigon compared to Hanoi. Okay, moving on to number 4, guys. Airports and flights. Okay, so nowadays the situation is a little bit better. Hanoi has a new airport, for example, that's new, and it's pretty nice compared to the old one that's being used mainly for domestic flights, but there are still more international flights from Saigon to other countries compared to Hanoi. I did some research and I did check basically every flight that's going out of Hanoi, and I could only find actually 2 flights that are not departing from Hanoi abroad, that are departing from Saigon, and that was to Penang in Malaysia and Brunei. All other flights actually you could get in Hanoi, but there's less of a frequency sometimes. So that's one thing that has improved, but it's still not as easy to get certain flights from Hanoi. That's still true, even though it's getting better. Linked to this is also the location of the airport. Okay, so in Saigon at the moment, they are planning to build a new airport called Long Tang, I think it is. It's going to be a completely new airport because the Tân Sơn Nhất airport now, it's very crowded. It's very small because it was built during the war, and you cannot really expand there. So, and the demand is very high. It's a very high frequency of flights, so they cannot really keep up with everything. And from the city center, sometimes it only takes maybe 20 minutes to drive to the airport. It's a lot more convenient because I've been to Hanoi, like I said, many times, and sometimes when it's heavy traffic, it's taken me close to an hour to get to the Nội Bài, which is the name of the airport in Hanoi. At least in my opinion, it just feels more convenient to take a taxi to the airport in Saigon than Hanoi, because it is further away, generally speaking. So, all right, number 5, guys, wider range of international foods. Kind of makes sense because Saigon is a bigger city, but it also has more tourism. I love Japanese food, and there is Japanese food in Hanoi, but it's quite limited. In Saigon, you can go to several very, very good izakaya, ramen, sushi restaurants run by Japanese people, and also Western food for that matter. But also, if you like Chinese food or that kind of food, it's very good in Saigon because you have a large population of Vietnamese of Chinese descent living in District 5, 6, and 11. You can get real, authentic Chinese style dishes. That's a huge advantage if you live in Saigon, I would say, the diversity of foods. I'm talking about specifically international foods, non-Vietnamese foods, because when it comes to actual Vietnamese food, I would probably prefer the northern cuisine in a way. That's just me personally, but when we're talking about international foods, I would definitely say that it's easier in Saigon and you have much more option to choose from. All right, number 6, guys, more international companies operate out of Saigon compared to Hanoi, which makes it a bit more convenient from a business standpoint. It's a little bit easier to connect with business people and international companies in Saigon compared to Hanoi. Hanoi is still the capital of Vietnam, so NGOs and diplomatic institutions, they are located in Hanoi. Many countries, they still have consulates in Ho Chi Minh City, but their embassies are located in Hanoi. Much more international organizations there. But when it comes to companies and in terms of business, it's way more prominent in Saigon. But business-wise, it's much better to be located in Saigon. Of course, depending on what you're doing, but I'm talking about in general that it is more convenient in Saigon from a business standpoint. And this is kind of like the economical center of the country as well, whereas Hanoi is more the political center of the country. Number 7, guys, more options for living and accommodation. There are more upscale apartment complexes to choose from in Saigon compared to Hanoi. Not just upscale, but in general, there's much more supply and diversity when it comes to finding accommodation. You can find a bit more options for living in general in Saigon, but especially the higher end buildings are more abundant in Saigon compared to Hanoi. So that's another thing that makes it more convenient to live in Saigon compared to Hanoi. And this list, as you can see on the title, it's about convenience, right? But in the next video, I'm gonna talk about why I like Hanoi better compared to Saigon in general. But these are my 7 reasons for why I think it's more convenient to live in Saigon compared to Hanoi. If you have any input about my list, or if you just want to comment, please do that below. I would love to hear your thoughts about it and what you think about it. So please like the video, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share the video as well. It means a lot to me if you could do that. And please check out my playlist of my road trip from Saigon to Hanoi. It's a very cool journey I did in 9 episodes, and you can follow me on my journey, and I cover every single cent I spent as well. So having that said, thank you for tuning in, and I see you in the next video.